Hey guys, welcome back to User Experience Points. This week we're going to talk about Dark Souls. Now the interesting thing about the user experience design in this game, intentional or not, is that it's completely uncompromising. Much like the game's difficulty, it's consistent almost to a fault because it establishes patterns that it never ever deviates from. Now normally this is a good thing. In fact, I established last week that XCOM could have used some more consistency in its interface. But Dark Souls follows its established patterns so closely that it actually affects usability in situations where maybe a new pattern could have been developed. The moment you launch the game, Dark Souls starts laying down the law immediately. For one thing, you can't actually use the joysticks to navigate any of the menus. You can only use the D-pad. Now I'm not sure if this was an intentional choice or not, since in the game itself you can only use the D-pad to navigate menus since you can't pause the game and have to be able to move your character around with the joysticks. But this is unnecessarily confusing for anyone who's starting the game for the first time. They don't know the controls yet, and they're going to try what's most familiar to them, which is using the analog stick. I honestly wouldn't put it past the designers to throw you into the fire like this and make you figure things out, since that's what the entire game does. But players should be able to jump right into character creation and then start playing the game. That way the harsh lessons can start with that damn boulder that rolls down the stairs at you near the beginning. Speaking of character creation, this screen is by far the most negatively affected by the game's overuse of consistent patterns. While it's great that every character customization action is done the exact same way, whether you're picking your class or your character's hairstyle, you're always choosing from a list. But the odd thing here is that every single customization element has its own description. Now this actually makes sense when you're picking your character's gift, for example, because the description actually tells you what the thing is. That can't be shown visually. But describing the hairstyles is not useful at all. Now I'm going to be kicking myself if this is an accessibility feature or something, but it doesn't make sense visually to describe something that you're seeing on screen. It seems like these descriptions were left in just to maintain consistency from where they were actually useful, but here it's just extra information for you to visually process while you're trying to focus on designing your character. This also applies to the fact that your character's stats are always on screen, even though that information is only really useful when you're selecting your class. The rest of the time, it's just one more thing your brain has to process whenever you're looking for something on screen. Even still, this screen is quite usable and is designed very well, but it's not the first thing I would want to see when I'm creating a character. I've created a lot of characters in RPGs like this, and it's always been a much more pleasant experience for me when I'm only thinking about one aspect of my character at a time. Though, one thing that these sequential experiences are often lacking is a summary screen that breaks everything down for you and lets you make last-minute changes, seeing everything at a glance. Dark Souls nails that aspect of character creation very well, but there's nothing that precedes it, so it's a little overwhelming when you're just dropped onto this screen. It also unfortunately has one glaring usability flaw in that the name field is not labeled. This makes it very easy to miss and then just leaves the user perplexed by why the accept button isn't doing anything. The field could have at least flashed red, or maybe had a pop-up message that said you need to name your character, but there's just no feedback. Sadly, the only thing I can call that is bad design. Next, let's talk about the game's main menu that is used during gameplay for everything from equipping items to adjusting the game's options. Unlike character creation, consistency is this menu's greatest asset. Each section is unique in its look and interactions, but the persisting top navigation and on-screen controls keep things usable. From start to finish, opening this menu and performing a task in it always feels efficient, which is very important for a game like this. Pressing start on the controller opens a minimized version of the menu showing only its navigation, except each section has a description. This is a wonderful way to let users choose where they're going to go before they have to see the full version of whatever the default selected screen is. Efficiency is enhanced further by lots of smart design choices within each menu. My favorite is the way that on the equipment and status screen, your character's information is divided into smaller chunks that can be toggled between very quickly. This is especially useful on the equipment screen because you can very quickly see how an item affects every aspect of your character. I also have to call out the options menu for having a really cool feature I haven't seen before. See, when you select Initialize, which restores all of the options to their default setting, you get to see a breakdown of how every single option is going to change once you commit to this choice. That, my friends, is badass UX design. And that's all I've got time for this week. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, you should definitely subscribe because I upload a new episode of User Experience Points every Friday. See you all next week.